But at the same time, women will cry about be vulnerable to me. But when you're vulnerable, now it's too much of
Is it the woman
No,
or
it's
like
not,
the society?
It's not society. This thing comes from the house, honestly.
Really?
Because why would I bring roughness in the house? I don't need to bring roughness in the house because I know I receive it too. I need to be more softer in my own house.
That's true.
I need to treat you how you're supposed to be treated. But out there, I'm gonna be somebody totally different.
Facts.
So I'm not gonna bring the aggressiveness that I have over there in the house, because now this house is not gonna be a comfortable zone.
No, it's more like
it's gonna be more chaos. It's gonna be chaotic.
Yeah.
It happens a lot. What men put to you in a vulnerable state, y'all use it in an argument. That's why men don't like talking about it.
You think so? We use it?
I don't think so. It's reality.
Oh no.
Oh my God. It's reality.
But I to some extent I do agree with you. And unfortunately that is something that I've heard a lot of men experience, where they tell a woman.
It is so hard for men to open up, even to the men themselves. Especially like, let's say if you're going through the gutter.
Yeah.
Through life, like life is life.
Yeah.
It is so hard to speak up. That's why it's so easy. Men can meet up, they will drink. You will never know they got problems. We'll have fun. We'll do all that. And I usually say, my pillow understands my life situation
more
better
than
anybody else. And why do women prefer therapy more than men do?
Ooh, lordy. Therapy.
Yeah.
That's a good one. I think part of it is what we just said. I think part of it, one, is culture, but also there's also what we keep talking about, ego. Because I feel like growing up, men are always raised to be tough and strong and don't show emotions. When you show emotions, it's a sign of weakness.
Yeah. Hello guys, welcome back again to Bridging Cultures. Today we're going to be extending the previous episode on careers and qualifications and how they affect marriages and relationships. I would love to appreciate everybody who's watched the previous episode, liked, commented, or shared, and the subscribers too. I give you much love. I don't think I can be this far without you, and I'm doing this for everybody and anybody who wants to watch it for educational purposes and everything. So without much ado, this is going to be part B of the careers and qualifications and how they affect marriages and relationships, like I had mentioned. So today we're going to talk about how the pressure builds up and bringing up into mental issues or depression in that matter. But without much ado, I'll let my guest introduce herself. I'm the host, Bryke. And
I am Rahab. It's so awesome to be back. And thank you for having me again.
Okay.
And I'm super excited. This is such a necessary conversation. So I'm glad we're having this. So.
Oh, yeah. I think in as much as we're here, not everybody understands the livelihood, the stress it brings, the pressure and everything, and how it is. And I think the purpose of all this is just to educate anybody who doesn't know and let somebody know before they come over here what to expect, and if they run into it, what's the ways to get out of it.
Sure.
Yep. So for me today, dealing with mental issues and what it leads to, like depression, what would you see, how would I put this? How do couples have to deal with this pressure when it builds up to a point whereby it leads to somebody having to be depressed or having to be in a mental state?
First of all, I would like to give a disclaimer, and I would encourage anybody that's going through depression, because that's not a light topic to talk about. There's definitely help out there, and there's resources available for you, and do seek medical help. But to answer your question about, so there's different ways that couples deal with the pressure that builds up. And I think to continue with what we were discussing is like, this family has come in here, certification is not happening, and there's not a job. most couples can either decide they're going to talk it out
Mm-hmm.
and communicate
Mm-hmm.
with one another.
Mm-hmm.
But then also we have to remember that open and honest communication has to be something that the couple has been doing.
Mm-hmm.
If it's not something that they do, then it becomes hard to deal with that in that manner.
Okay.
The other way they can deal with it is maybe venting to a close friend or a relative. And I think women are good at this because we go talk to our girls and
Yeah.
let it all out, or you have maybe a coworker that you're close to. That's another way. And the third way, I believe, is like we say, seeking medical help or
Mm-hmm.
therapy.
Mm-hmm.
But that's also culturally, it's something that we struggle with as a culture.
Mm-hmm.
So I think those are the ways that I can think of that a couple can deal with such pressure.
I think you mentioning about venting. Don't people get scared of venting to friends who can talk? Because everybody's scared of letting their life known out there.
That is true.
If not all, I think most people.
I think that's a legitimate fear because you don't want to tell your business to somebody, then find out this person went and told everybody your business.
Mm-hmm.
So I would say um, having a friend or venting to a friend that you trust, first of all,
Mm-hmm.
you have to decide as a person, hey, is this somebody that I can trust with my
Secret
or whatever that I'm going through? It's not something that I'm going to talk to, and then the next thing I know, the whole community knows.
Mm-hmm.
Now, and that's why I say you have to know who your friends are.
Mm-hmm.
Don't just go venting to anybody.
Mm-hmm.
But there is that fear of, hey, I'm going to go tell my story, and then my story is going to get out there. So I find that becomes something that hinder most people from even reaching out to that person, and they decide to, I'm going to deal with this on my own because I'm scared of even telling somebody, and then that person tells another person, and then it's a whole
now it
deal.
becomes a shame in the community, like you walking around, everybody knows everybody everything
Right.
about you.
Yeah.
Oh wow, yeah, that's a big fear. I think for me, I'd say sometimes ego can step in a way too.
Definitely. Yeah.
Ego can step in a way, and some people don't want to talk about it because of their ego being bruised as a shame.
Yeah.
Because the more people talk about you, the more you feel like you can't represent yourself.
True.
In your most how would I say, not vulnerable position, but in your best position. Like, let me just put it that way. Yeah. So I think the ego stands in a way too, and it affects a lot of people. But speaking of the pressure building up, and I know a lot of people go through this. Probably you might get to a point you're depressed. Some people like let's say couples or relationships.
Yeah.
It gets to a point somebody don't want to tell you something, because if they tell you something, they're gonna either poke you or they're gonna make you feel some type of way, which they don't want to.
So this is like your spouse?
Yeah, it might be your spouse,
Yeah.
it might be your girlfriend, it might be your wife, it might be your husband, it might be your boyfriend.
Mm-hmm.
So there are things like you want to say, but you don't want to say because you know if you do say, now you're gonna build up more pressure on them, or you're gonna make them question things, and you don't want them to.
That's true.
Yeah.
So, and I think those are the ways that we find a lot of people would rather suffer in silence and alone rather than open up to somebody because they are scared. Like, hey, I'm going to open up, and then one, I don't know how this person is going to receive this. Let's say, for example, you're venting to your spouse, and this is something that is going to affect them, whatever you tell them. So the fear of like, I don't know how he's going to or she's going to receive this can hinder you from like even going to vent. But also even if it's a friend, that fear of like, I don't know how they're going to receive this.
Yeah.
And I think talking about ways to overcome that fear would be beneficial because at one point you have to talk to somebody, because we're talking about this. If you don't have an outlet for whatever this pressure is on you, at one point it's just going to come out and it's not going to be pretty.
Yeah, it's going to rupture out and it's going to affect the person more worse than you would have thought.
Yeah, or people turn to other means of relieving the pressure that are not healthy.
Mostly, I'd say when these things happen, I would say be at your vulnerable state.
But do you think
like like couples need to agree, or those in relationships or marriages, they need to agree. Like, let's pick a time and point or moment or a day. Let's be vulnerable this day. Let's let everything out.
Okay.
I'm gonna say what's affecting me.
Yeah.
You're gonna say what's going affect, it's
Yeah.
affecting you. Let's figure out what's the best way to come out of this, or what's the best way
I
to
like
build up
that.
from this point.
I like that. So, like, kind of have a day where we decide, hey, this is a no judgment zone. This is a safe space.
Yeah.
And I'm gonna tell you everything laid down on the table, and you
Mhm.
do the same. And then once we leave this space, whatever we say here is
Mhm.
done.
Mhm.
I like that.
Yeah, like, I'll say like let's put the ego to the side.
Mhm.
Say what you want to say, in as much as it's going to affect me.
Yeah.
Let me know what you're thinking. Let me know what you
Mhm.
want to say,
Mhm.
because the more you keep on keeping it inside, it's going to
Mhm.
build up to a point.
Mhm.
It's going to affect all of us.
Yeah. Yeah.
So before it affects what we got, let's say for instance, if they got kids,
Mhm.
this is going to pour down to the kids too.
It will.
So before it gets to that point, I'll say be at a vulnerable state. Have a safe word or a safe space.
Mhm.
Let's say for instance, you can have even like let's say notes either in the kitchen or in the
Mhm.
bedroom.
Mhm.
If you know your partner is not going to receive you in a good way,
Mhm.
agree. Let's put down everything on paper.
Or
Go
write
write
it
what you want to write.
down.
I'm going to
Yeah.
write what I want to write.
Yeah.
Then we're going to exchange the papers. We're going to
Yeah.
read them.
Mhm.
Then from that point, we're going to know what's affecting who and how it's affecting us.
Question for you.
Mhm.
What and I if anybody has any ideas of so I know like being even in that space of vulnerability, like how can, let's say for example it's a relationship, and
Mhm.
sometimes I always feel like for me to be vulnerable with a certain person, they have to even create that environment for me to be able to do that. Like what are ways, like thinking of us culturally,
Mhm.
how is, like how can a husband or a wife create that space? Do you say the words like, hey, if it's okay for you to write it down, or like I want us to do this, or like how?
For me, I think always is the approach. The way you approach somebody, the tonation can tell somebody if they want to receive you or not.
True.
If you come with a high tone,
Mm-hmm.
I'm already not receiving you. So whatever you're
True.
saying, I'm not ready
Already
to
going
listen.
into defense mode.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So if you
Wow.
come in a soft voice,
Mm-hmm.
be like, hey, I want to talk.
Mm-hmm.
Can we talk about this? I
Yeah.
mean, I understand we have problems, whatever.
Yeah.
If you bring a soft voice, somebody's willing to listen to you.
That is
But
true.
if you come in a high pitch, I'm already in defense mode. I don't care what you want to say.
Defense mode. That
Yeah.
is true.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I think
Mhm.
presentation
Mhm.
is the way, is the
How
first
you
thing.
approach.
Yeah, how you
Yeah.
approach somebody is the way they're gonna listen to you, and their willingness is just gonna be
To
there.
receive you. That's a
Yeah.
good one.
So
I
that's
like
a
the notes one too.
yeah. The notes one. I think for me, I've been thinking about it. The notes one works best, and I
Yeah.
think I saw it from.
Mm-hmm.
It was a therapy session that I saw
Mm-hmm.
when couples are fighting.
Mm-hmm.
If you don't understand each other, write down. You guys
Mm-hmm.
agree. You don't have to be in the same room writing this.
Mm-hmm.
Go write down what you want to write down, bring it to me, or leave it
Exchange the
somewhere that I can see it.
notes. Yeah.
Leave it somewhere that I can see it. I'll go read it.
Mm-hmm.
I'll understand what you're going through, or what you don't like, or what's facing you, and what I'm doing to affect you.
Yeah.
And I'll decipher that myself, and I'll be like, okay, I never knew I did this. I never knew I did this.
Yeah.
So probably what's the best way for me to do, or for her to receive me in a different way, or for her to perceive me in a different way.
Oh wow.
So I think there's growth in that, honestly. Like,
Oh, there is absolutely.
because I think there are people who don't know how to control their tone, honestly.
Or even when stuff is like heightened, like when you're really angry or frustrated,
Everybody wants to be in defense mode when they are angry. Honestly, there's
you
no
all
one
you
who
want to do
wants.
is just fight,
It's
not
always
physically.
the ego at play. I want to
Absolutely.
win this argument. There's no way you're tearing me
Or
down.
thinking like, hey, I'm right, and that is true.
Yeah,
In that moment, it's very hard
to be listened to or to be heard.
or even communicate
Yeah,
effectively, or in like the manner we're saying, like without coming aggressively at you, like coming in a tone that's more receiving and
receive. Yeah,
accepting.
yeah.
But if I'm frustrated, ooh, um, I'll walk away
No,
first before I say
nobody.
something.
No, no.
Before I say something that I'm gonna regret.
Yeah,
But it's
yeah.
so crazy, like even thinking how families get affected. Like this is something that's affecting our community from the concept of like the hardship that we face readjusting
Mm-hmm.
or adjusting to this new environment.
Mm-hmm.
Like it even affects your mental status, which then ultimately affects family dynamics and relationships, and even
and that's where the vulnerability comes in play. Like if it's affecting us, it's gonna affect the kids too, because they're
it's
gonna
going to
read the
affect
home.
everybody,
They'll
really.
understand.
Yeah.
Mommy doesn't approach daddy like she used to, or daddy doesn't talk to mommy the way he used to. So the best way to change that sometimes is being vulnerable. Understand, like it's not about like I'm weak or nothing. I'ma just be
Ooh, talk
vulnerable at this
about
moment. Talk to
that.
me. Talk to me. I'll understand what you're going through. Let me listen. I'll talk to you too. Or take it to a different stage. Therapists do this. It's role play. Let's say we married right now, so you're gonna behave how I behave towards you as a husband,
Yeah.
and I'm gonna behave how you behave towards me as a wife.
Okay.
Then we're gonna see, because when you receive, or when you're on the receiving end, is much better to understand it.
different.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So when you get it, you're gonna be like, okay, I never knew I did this.
Yeah.
I never knew I did this.
Wow. Something else somebody said to me is, like when you do what you're saying, the role play, it's almost like you step in the shoe of the other person, because sometimes it's hard for us to understand how the other person is receiving or felt when I did something.
Yeah.
And now me being in their shoes and then them doing that, it
To
feels
you, now it's
totally
totally
different.
different. Yeah.
And it feels different, and you're like, oh, wait a minute, that doesn't feel good.
Yeah. It doesn't.
Oh wow, I like that. But there's something you kind of touched on, and I think we we talked about it in the vulnerability, but I think you mentioned something about weakness, and I think that's something society has kind of made it look like.
The point of if a man is more soft, is perceived to be weak.
Not even soft, like the vulnerability is perceived as weakness.
But I see that a lot, honestly. And I don't know why it happens that way. I don't know. I honestly don't. But at the same time, women will cry about, be vulnerable to me. But when you're vulnerable, now it's too much of
Is it the woman
no,
or
it's
like
not,
the society?
It's not society. This thing comes from the house, honestly.
Really?
Because why would I bring roughness in the house? I don't need to bring roughness in the house because I know I'll receive it too. I need to be more softer in my own house.
That's true.
I need to treat you how you're supposed to be treated. But out there, I'm gonna be somebody totally different.
Facts.
So I'm not gonna bring the aggressiveness that I have over there in the house, because now this house is not gonna be a comfortable zone.
No, it's more like
it's gonna be more chaos. It's gonna be chaotic.
Yeah. But I also feel like society has put some level of pressure on men to even just growing up. Like I know growing up, like even around friends who are male, or like my brother, there's this concept of like, being told to man up and, be a man, or you can't cry. Like I can count on one hand the many times I've seen like men in like my close family, like my uncles and whoever, cry. Like it's very rare.
I think we cry when we are young. The more we grow, we don't.
Why is that though?
We might cry, but not close to a woman.
Oh, in secret?
Not close to a woman. No. No. And I know men who are watching, I swear to God, for men who are watching, they understand what I'm saying. Men can cry.
But it's
probably not in the eyesight or in the view of a lady.
So how does that change with your spouse though?
It doesn't matter. I'm gonna go to the bathroom, I'm gonna let it out, but not in a voice out like I'm gonna just be down, the tears gonna just drip, but I'm gonna wipe it off and then come back again.
It becomes tough, even vulnerability.
And that's why they say men don't talk, because I think it happens a lot. What men put to you in a vulnerable state, you all use it in an argument. That's why men don't like talking about it.
You think so? We use it?
I don't think so. It's reality.
Oh no.
Oh my God. It's reality.
But I to some extent I do agree with you. And unfortunately that is something that I've heard a lot of men experience, where they tell a woman or a vulnerable
at a vulnerable point and state, be coming to you, tell you something. Now you're gonna go over there, talk to your girls, be like, He's acting like a baby. Now you're like, wow, honestly, how
Not
what
like a baby.
women do say that? They are committee.
I think that's why women we're better at this thing, because I think, and not to say that what we do when a man vents and is vulnerable. I agree. Like if someone opens, if someone comes to you and perceives you as a safe space for whatever reason, and they're being vulnerable with you, I think that the right thing to do for you as a person receiving that person is hold that vulnerability a safe space for them, and not go yapping and whatever. But I feel like however, there are instances where if it's, for example, it's the same couple or the married couple, and yes, your husband is being vulnerable with you, but then there's some level of offense that I feel, and then I go vent to a friend, because let's say the thing that happened affected both of us, and you approached me, you came first and said, hey, I think this was not okay. I wish we had, gone a different way in this situation. The reason why I acted this way is this. So we're having that vulnerable moment. And maybe, let's say, for example, whatever the offense was or whatever the argument was, I don't feel seen in that moment. Then I decide, hey, I'm not going to be vulnerable with you, but then go vent to a friend. So sometimes I always feel like even when we're coming at the girlfriend with the what's this word, with like, oh, he was doing all of this crying and whatnot, maybe it's from a space of I'm hurting too.
But why don't you have to talk it out at that moment in time?
With the partner.
Yeah, when they're being vulnerable to you, why do you have to keep your point and go to your
that's
girls?
where I say both parties you can't be the only one being vulnerable.
Yeah.
If you open up that space, I have to be comfortable enough and secure enough to know, like, hey, he's being vulnerable with me. I have to reciprocate the same way. It becomes a problem if I don't feel safe enough to be vulnerable with you, and then I decide to find another channel of being vulnerable with. Then that's where this whole I'm going to talk about you in a bad way to whomever.
Yeah.
But creating that space for both parties is important, because I don't want my partner just to be the only one who's being vulnerable, and then I'm not being vulnerable.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's something.
So speaking of depression house and everything, communication and everything, why do men not go for therapy? And why do women prefer therapy more than men do?
Ooh, Lordy. Therapy.
Yeah.
That's a good one. I think part of it is what we just said. I think part of it, one, is culture, but also there's also what we keep talking about, ego.
Okay.
Because I feel like growing up, men are always raised to be tough and strong and don't show emotions. When you show emotions, it's a sign of weakness.
Yeah.
And then in our community, therapy is not viewed as an option, really. Growing up, I don't think therapy is even...
I don't think I had anything about therapy in the 2000s of, let's say, the year 2000 to the year 2006. I never had anything about therapy, honestly.
Yeah.
I never had anything about therapy.
And I think it's becoming normalized more now.
Yeah.
And especially for, like we're saying, male. It's easier for a woman. Number one, we love to talk.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Women love to talk, okay?
Women like talking, and I think it's more easier for you guys just to express yourself.
It is easier, because if you think about it, me and my girlfriends, I'm always talking and venting, and it's easier for me to go and vent to somebody, versus most men, I feel like, almost suffer in silence.
Is the fear of being judged and the fear of being put in a position, like the same thing that I said, using my weakness in an argumentative time or moment.
That's interesting.
And that's why it's so hard, I think, for most men who've gone through it. They will never do it again.
Would you do therapy?
Huh?
Would you do therapy?
Would I do therapy?
Yes. Would you do therapy?
It depends.
With what?
It depends.
What would it depend?
I'm not gonna pay for no therapy.
What?
Hell no.
Why?
I'm not.
Why are you not paying for therapy?
I'm not in that position.
Even if therapy is gonna help you.
I mean, it might be helpful, yeah, but why do I have to go to therapy?
What if communicating with your person, or like, let's say whatever problem you guys are trying to solve didn't get solved in that manner?
It didn't get solved.
Yeah.
I might consider it, but
Might.
I might consider it, but I'm not fully going like that.
Yeah. That's interesting.
And a good percentage of men go to therapy because they're being pushed by their women.
Which I think it's a noble
It's not
thing.
intentional.
I know.
Or maybe they're being
that.
pushed by the society.
What do you mean by society?
Because sometimes the society can push you to go to therapy.
To seek therapy.
If their society knows your behavior more than anybody else, like they'll push you to go to therapy.
And the funny thing is, like, well, I'm happy that this is getting more normalized than it was before. But I do agree that I haven't encountered a lot of men that are comfortable.
Not even comfortable, intentionally choosing to go to therapy.
Yeah, it's a tough call. Like you're saying, it will be an encouragement from the woman in their life.
Yeah.
But I also feel like with the conversation that we're having and how it's affecting family dynamics, I feel like if depression and not having a healthy mental space is affecting your marriage, and which I'm hoping a lot of people, and your children too, let's even say you guys have kids, that's an important part of your life. And I would say that if therapy is going to help save that, I absolutely believe that that's a good thing to do. But
yeah, a lot of men don't want to do it. But with every man watching this, let's understand why we don't go to therapy. Like intentionally, not by being pushed. Intentionally. Why don't we go to therapy? For me, I think it's the cost, honestly.
So if money was
a lot of men will choose not to. If you was free, we'll go. We'll go.
Well, that's a good problem to have.
We'll go.
Because I mean, if money is not a factor, then that's good. It's not the fact that you don't want to go.
Women are not scared to pay for something like that. They'll pay. Men are only scared because they think a lot about bills. Why would I spend $300 on a session for 2 hours? Probably my car is not working right. I need to fix that car first.
But all things considered, if money was not a problem, you think
if you was free, yeah, we'll go. Sign me up tomorrow morning. I'm going.
That's a good one.
If it's free, I'm coming.
Well, I'm hoping there's resources out there that
I'm sure there is resources that do that. Yeah. But do you think I'll go just intentionally?
No, you're not. And
I need you to do this. Give me therapy in this day. Give me my work schedule. I'll go to work.
But in all seriousness, I know that's such a touchy subject, and we might be laughing, but it is true that like therapy for men is such a topic that a lot of men shy away from in our community. And I think it's a good thing to normalize, because what if you don't have a friend that you trust to vent? Having that stranger who doesn't know
it is so hard. I think for the thing that we're talking about, the ego, the shame and everything, it is so hard for men to open up, even to the men themselves. Especially like, let's say if you're going through the gutter, through life, like life is life, and it is so hard to speak up. That's why it's so easy. Men can meet up, they will drink, you will never know they got problems. We'll have fun, we'll do all that. And I usually say, my pillow understands my life situation better than anybody else.
Oh dear.
Because I'll get to that pillow, same thing I said, I will cry. I'll cry it out.
But that's just in privacy.
But and I'll pick it up tomorrow.
It make you feel better once you're done with that?
Does crying make you feel better?
I think it does.
Not really. It's only the pressure that's built up so much you can't handle. So you cry it out. And I think with most men, they're built to just go. It's go mode. It's just go. It don't matter how you're feeling, because the society has put that standard for men. It don't matter what you're going through. You still have to provide. You still have to be available. You still have to be there. It don't matter if you cried or none.
So how do we create?
You still have to show up tomorrow.
Oh, that's tough.
You still have to show up.
Which is true.
Yeah. And that's why, like I'm saying, men can go and cry about it. Does it do anything better? No. It was just the pressure that I was relieving. But tomorrow morning, I know I have to show up. I'll show up.
And I think that's the problem we keep running into, is because, yes, they're going to have that session of crying, but if they're not resolving whatever that was bothering them, and then you carry it into the next day, you're not showing up in rooms like the healthy you.
Yeah, it's not solved by tears.
No.
Neither is it solved by talking. Probably it's financial problems. Even if we talked about it, do you think I've solved my issues?
Finances, no. If it's a financial situation, then that's a whole different, because I think that's what we're talking about. So
Yeah. It's only money that's gonna fix that.
well,
Even
let's
if
talk about
even if I talk about it from today to the end of the year.
money affects a lot of things.
Yeah.
A lot. Wow.
And that's what it is. And
That's
that's why,
profound.
man, and that's why we would rather not pay for therapy. I'd rather pay for something different.
Oh Lord.
Yeah.
That's crazy. It's
It
how
is.
it's crazy how finances affect every aspect of life.
It's a good chunk of it, honestly.
Yeah,
It's only finances. Money controls everything.
pretty much.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Without it.
But so we've agreed that
Mhm.
if money was not a problem, you would go to therapy.
I would, yeah.
Okay.
If it was free, I'd go.
Tell the men.
A lot of men over there. Tell me in the comment section. Put it down in the comment section.
Yes.
If it was free, would you show up? Yes or no?
And even if it wasn't
And
free,
if you was to pay, would you pay? Let's see how many men say they're gonna pay
I
for
want to
it.
see. I want to see how many.
And remember, it's $300 per session.
Not necessarily 300.
Okay, let's put $200 per session.
Let's do a range between. It's anywhere from.
It's anywhere from 100 to 300.
Yeah, I think that's a good range.
And how many sessions do you need before that?
It depends.
Therapist.
It
Roughly, it takes 15 to 20 sessions.
But then it also depends with the level of your depression or what you're.
Yeah, but I'm saying roughly though.
Okay, on
Depends on how
average.
deep you are into depression.
Yeah.
So calculate that 20 by 300 or by 200. That money would have done a lot of things I can do.
Why do men think like this?
We think that's the problem. Men, like I say, the society is put a bar for us. Like we have to show up. So that's why we think about the future. Like, how would I put this? If men go out of work and they know next month's bill is paid, they might be reluctant. But if they know I don't have money for the rent next month, it don't matter what you tell me. Even if it's you giving me the $200 to go for therapy, I'm not going. I'm keeping that money.
What?
I'm keeping that money.
Wow. So I guess now we need
until the bill is paid, the rent is when I can think about something else.
So I guess we need to think about how to make more money, so that way when we need to go to therapy, our men are not failing to go to therapy, because I think it's important for the survival of
That's what I'm saying.
families.
That's what I'm saying. It's easy for men to go to therapy when their women push them to.
Okay.
But that just by choice, like I woke up today morning and I'm going to therapy, hell no.
So women, empower your men to go to therapy. And
they will.
Yeah.
But they might give you trouble though.
That's for sure.
Before they show up, they might give you trouble before they show up. But anyway, that's the pressure that builds up. So we've said about how men don't go, but what's the best way for men to be helped, or for anybody else, men, women, and everybody? When that pressure comes up, builds up, and all that, how can they be helped? What's the best source?
So, I mean, we keep saying, I feel like, honestly, in my opinion, given all the factors that we've mentioned, I think the best and most effective way is each person learning how to effectively communicate with your partner.
Yeah, I think communication helps a lot. Honestly.
It does.
It does.
And like we say, create that environment in your space where this man or this woman feels safe enough or confident enough to come and be vulnerable and open up to you with something that's bothering them. I believe that's the most cost effective, and that's, I think, the best way to do it. Now, if communicating between you all two is not the best right now, getting a trusted third party, it can be a friend, it can be a relative. And we keep saying there's the fear of that person not
being judged and all that.
But I believe there's people out there who will honestly hold that space for you.
Yeah, I think there's groups out here that can help you. Like, let's say if you have that pressure of jobs, getting a job, getting something that can sustain you, paying rent and everything. I think there's people who've been over here, who've gone through it.
Yeah.
they've faced through it and they've tackled it.
Mm-hmm.
If you find people who've done it,
Mm-hmm.
go and talk to them. Probably
Absolutely.
they know what's the best way to do it,
Mm-hmm.
instead of you going through the scratches before you find your footing.
Mm.
They will let you know, hey, this is where I went to, this is who I
Yeah.
talked to, this is
Yeah.
how they helped me.
Yeah.
I'll take you there, talk to them. Probably
Mm-hmm.
it's the connection, the connectivity.
And I agree. And then
Yeah.
also, like, what you are doing is also helping creating that awareness and speaking out about it. And like you're saying, find that community in
Yeah.
your community where, and I think we have a pretty good one around here where we have even classes about mental awareness where we talk about this because this is not an easy conversation, and even just
It's
normalizing that conversation and saying, hey, it's okay for you to not be okay every day. Because I think we also, like you're saying, men are under a lot of pressure to be this provider, be this person, and when they fail at that, then they feel the pressure. Let's normalize. You don't have to have it all together all the time.
It's not going to be always.
Yeah, and that's
but
okay.
It's only the pressure that's tearing down, though.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. But anyway,
Mm.
they'll find it by looking for groups.
Mm-hmm.
I think there's groups that can be found out here.
Mm-hmm.
Probably you got Kenyan groups,
Mm-hmm.
probably African groups, you got
Yeah.
Nigerians and all that.
Yeah, yeah,
There's people who can show you around.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's the best way to get through it. And that's what I'll say. But yeah, I would say that's it for now. Until next time, people, it was nice having y'all. Bye.